Hello, my name is Aidan Miller, and looks like we have a great audience tonight. Let's hear a round of applause. All right, so why am I here? Let me give you some background information. I have Asperger Syndrome, which is a form of high-functioning autism. What does this mean? It means I was born without the ability to gauge normal social expectations. I actually had to be taken out of class and schooled on basic social functions, such as how to make friends, hold an appropriate conversation, and vice versa. I still struggle with some aspects of the disorder, such as failure to make eye contact. But of all the things I learned, these two are the most important. How to be empathetic and not be one-sided in a conversation. I'm standing here today because I hear too often, whether it be on the news or some people off at the distance, fruitless quarreling on philosophy, and not just simple, lighthearted disagreement, but bitter arguments that leave people polarized in the end. Not only is this counterintuitive to the way I was taught to treat others as I like to be treated, but it's also propelled by a destructive force known as ignorance. I'm standing here today to help empower you all with some tips to help suppress this notion of ignorance, and by no means are they perfect, but I find they do help me in my day-to-day life. So to start off, what is ignorance anyway? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, ignorance is the lack of knowledge of information. Simple enough, right? While the Oxford Dictionary does a great job at defining what ignorance is, we need to further disambiguate it to better understand the problem at hand. So, I've subdivided ignorance into two different types, direct and indirect ignorance. First, there's direct ignorance, and this is literally the oblivion toward the correct answer to a definitive concept like mathematics or a foreign language. How do you overcome it? Easy. You just learn the concept. Simple enough, right? It deals with clear, definite, well-defined concepts. Next comes indirect ignorance. This is where things get complex. It's the oblivion toward the correct answer to an indefinite concept. All philosophical matters fall underneath this type of ignorance. Questions like, is it right to abort a fetus? Or what's the ideal society? Or what's the meaning of life? We all possess this type of ignorance. Each and every one of us do not know the surefire, 100% correct answer toward concepts we are indirectly ignorant to. As such, it's impossible to overcome this type of ignorance, but it seems like we have in our own minds. This is because we come up with our own philosophies to help compensate for this void of knowledge. Your beliefs and ideologies are all based on social constructs and personal experiences you've had in the past. This level of personality is said to be why it's hard to change someone's opinions, and keep in mind how I said it's only hard to. But anyway, these compensations for indirect ignorance vary from person to person, and are thus very diverse and definitive in our character. It's what makes each and every one of us different. Now that I've disambiguated these two different types of ignorance for you, I want to ask you, which one is more destructive? Just take a few seconds to think to yourself. It must be indirect ignorance, right? Ever heard the saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know? We as humans are instinctively uncomfortable with what's not familiar to us. Our compensations for indirect ignorance become our worlds and our outlooks on life. Likewise, if someone were to come up to you and challenge your beliefs, they'd appear to be wrong or even perverse from your perspective. Then bitter hatred and argument and polarization ensue to try to justify a seemingly correct, concrete answer to a concept which isn't even answerable in the first place. So it must be indirect ignorance, right? But it's not. Isn't knowing that indefinite concepts are unanswerable a definitive concept? Yes, it is. And failure to recognize this principle is what enables indirect ignorance's destructive ability. Because failing to recognize this, we end up sparring one another as if one compensation or another is the correct one. So, how do we eliminate this need to argue? Well, the answer is we can't completely. But we certainly can channel it. My tip to you is to avoid argumentative debate as much as possible, because that assumes there's a right or wrong compensation. Just a note, if these tips took years to come to me, they should take seconds to come to you. Sit down and converse with people with conflicting philosophies, keeping in mind their views will disagree with yours. Take turns giving your views in different subjects. Ask them why they think what they think, and you may become more wise in a subject, being able to see it from a different perspective. Because remember how I said that our opinions are based on our own personal experiences? If you could ask why you think what you think, give an honest answer. And if you don't know, just say, that's how I think. Because you do have a reason why you think what you think, it just may be subconscious. I don't know, maybe just me saying we shouldn't argue, because argumentative behavior in a nonviolent sense can be a beneficial thing. In fact, recently, I saw a TED Talk with Dr. Daniel Cohen about the benefits of argumentative behavior. Well, have no fear. A man by the name of Socrates came up with a method of constructively arguing known as the Socratic Method 2,500 years ago. It's basically a form of organized debate, but much more effective than a traditional argument of war, in that it promotes critical thinking through asking questions. Furthermore, through the cooperation it embraces, it also provokes critical thinking and a possible revelation of a new concept. Remember I said it's hard to change someone? Yes, it's hard to change someone, but not impossible. And with the Socratic method, it holds a much greater potential to do so than a traditional argument. So what I've done here is I've empowered you all with means to help defend yourself against direct ignorance and indirect ignorance. I encourage you to set a positive example by using these tips I just provided to you, and kill this form of direct ignorance, and hopefully others will follow suit with you. Thank you very much.